Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to Slang of Ages podcast. This is a brief episode. As you know, season five is over. We did 15 episodes, but I did want to take a moment to thank all of you who've liked, shared, and subscribed the videos, but more importantly, the podcast on your podcatcher. I would appreciate that you continue to rate this on your podcatcher of choice, that you share it with friends. That's how we grow. There's also a donate button on my website, slingofages.com. Please donate. That'll help keep the podcast going. We'll have a season number six, which will start in about 8 weeks. But before we get to that, I did want to thank a few people for their contributions. I really want to thank those who contributed over not only season five, but all the seasons. So I'm going to start with Vinicio Cifuentes. Vinicio contributed the vocal for the Ozomatli episode number 12. And of course, he's my husband and has been a staunch supporter of the podcast. So thank you very much, Vinicio. I also want to thank Rolando Guzman, who has the podcatcher and he does Spellbinders Media. So this is on his site. Thank you, Rolando, for your continuous work on the podcast for the last 5 seasons and going into season six. I appreciate you, Rolando. Then, of course, Cheryl Frazier. Cheryl did the vocal for the last episode of the season. That was Catherine Russell's Sin for Me, episode number 15. Cheryl's been a supporter since the beginning of the podcast. I appreciate your vocal, Cheryl. I appreciate you listening and sharing these, so thank you. And I want to thank Susan Frazier and Monica Mitchell. Susan and Monica were on the first episode of season five. That was the episode where we talked about Janelle Monae's The Electric Lady album. Susan has been a staunch supporter of the podcast since the beginning, as has Monica. And Monica has contributed several vocals, including a vocal on that episode for Janelle Monae, episode number 1 of season five. So thank all of them. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love all of you. Thank you very much. Secondly, I want to thank the musical guests who've appeared in season five. And typically, what I do is when I plan the seasons, I want to talk about my album collection, which is, of course, the purpose of the Slang of Ages podcast, where I judge albums, but more importantly, go through my album collection of older and some new albums. This season, and I try to do maybe 2 interviews a season. This season, we've done, I think, 7 interviews, and we published 5 of those interviews. So that includes Jamie Leonhart, which was the discussion of Illusions of Blue, sides A and B. That was episode number 5. Jamie's a wonderful singer, wonderful songwriter, wonderful educator, and she's on tour now with Steely Dan. Then episode 6, Cidny Bullens, we talked about his wonderful album, Little Pieces, as well as his new autobiography, which is entitled Trans Electric, My Life as a Cosmic Rock Star. Go get the album Little Pieces and find Cidny's book. It's wonderful. And of course, Cidny also contributed to a wonderful album with Wendy Waldman and Deborah Holland. So check that out as well. It's one of my best of 2023. Ron Blake, who is a fantastic and noted saxophonist, tenor sax, baritone sax. You see him in the Saturday Night Live band. And we talked about his album, Mistaken Identity, which was episode number 7. So check the album out and check Ron's work out. He's fantastic. And then Joe Bailey. Joe and I talked about his prog metal album, Splinters. That was episode number 9. And Joe is a wonderful artist in his own right. He also works with the Dark Monarchy with podcast support of Mark Anthony Kay, who's been on a few seasons. So check out Splinters, episode 9. Joe Bailey, thank you. And last but by no means least, episode 13, Terry Blake, wonderful singer, songwriter, and conceptualist out of Chicago. He talked about his album, Ethos, Son of a Sharecropper. Episode number 13. Terry and I had a really deep discussion about LGBTQ plus issues and his music and his inspiration. So check that out. So thank you to the special guests we had in season 5 and also those contributors. Now, I do want to mention a few episodes that I love. Now, I love all my episodes, but some stand out for me. And in season 5, there are no exceptions. With season 5, we had episode number 2, the Brooklyn Run Funk Orchestrata. And actually, I talked about that a little bit with Jamie Leonhart because I first saw her live with the Brooklyn Run Funk Orchestrata in Bloomington, Illinois, several years back. That album's called The Hills Are Alive. That's episode number 2, so check it out. Another episode which is of note for me is the episode number 4, which features Michael McDonald's second solo album, No Looking Back. It is a wonderful album. It rocks harder than most of Michael McDonald's work. It has some great playing by McDonald, by Jeff Porcaro on drums, by Willie Weeks on bass, the late Cornelius Bumpus on tenor sax, David Pack and Robin Ford on guitar, and Chuck Sabatino on some synths and some vocals. Wonderful album, wonderful episode. No Looking Back, episode number 4. Episode number 8, where I talked about the Power Stations album, Living in Fear. Most of you haven't heard of that Power Station album. You only heard of the first Power Station album called The Power Station. Living in Fear was an album where Andy Taylor, the guitarist, got back together with Robert Palmer, vocalist, and Tony Thompson on drums. And John Taylor from Duran Duran couldn't be available because of his recovery. So Bernard Edwards, who produced both Power Station albums, took over the bass playing. It is funky. It is rocking. It is a great album. And of course, of the Power Station members, only one is still alive. I think John Taylor's the only one left. Bernard Edwards, Tony Thompson, and actually, that's not correct. Bernard Edwards, Tony Thompson are all dead, as is Robert Palmer. But John Taylor, the original Power Station bassist and original guitarist, Andy Taylor, they're still around, though Andy has some health struggles going on right now with stage 4 cancer. Episode number 10, Peter Hemmelman's Flown This Acid World. Love Peter Hellman. He has a series of great rock albums. He has also a series of great children's albums. He's done some fantastic artwork. Check Peter Hellman out, but check out the episode number 10. We talk about Flown This Acid World. And it kind of relates to what's going on now in the world, especially in the Middle East. So check it out. Episode number 11, where we talk about Ozomatli's debut album called Ozomatli. Ozomatli is a great band, a multicultural band out of California. Elements of Puerto Rican, Mexican, Chicano music, Japanese music, world music, great rock, great funk, high energy. They're still touring and they're still doing great albums. So if you get a chance to see Ozo, see them live, check out episode number 11 rather. And then the last of my special mention list will be episode number 14. And that is the episode where I talk about the Crosby, Privar, and Raymond album called CPR. Crosby, Privar, and Raymond. The album's called CPR. The band's called CPR. And it is a band that David Crosby started with his son, who he gave up for adoption, James Raymond, and guitarist Jeff Pivar. The group had 2 studio albums, both are tremendous, and 2 live albums, both are tremendous. Crosby does some of his best work with CPR. James Raymond is a talented keyboardist and vocalist, and Jeff Pivar is a wonderfully talented electric guitarist and acoustic guitarist, and also composer. So check those albums out. Check those episodes out. Season 15, 15 episodes. Sorry, season 5, 15 episodes. Some good stuff there. I hope you like it. Again, like, share, subscribe. If you can rate on your podcatcher, do that. And also go to slingofages.com to donate. There's a donate button, and I could use any donation you have to continue this process for season 6 and season 7. Your feedback's appreciated as well. You can leave that on slingofages.com or send it to me at slingofages@me.com. So I'll see you in probably 8 weeks for season number 6. I appreciate each and every one of you who listen, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Make it so.